small reminders of the human devastation strewn across the desert. Among the heaps of twisted wreckage, investigators look for any signs of the remaining bodies. On Sunday, Russia's emergencies minister arrived on the scene hoping to uncover clues to explain what brought the aircraft down, while the head of Russia's Federal Aviation Agency spoke on Russian television. The constructive elements of the plane are spread out over an area in the shape of an elongated ellipse, 8 kilometers long and 4 kilometers wide. There's every indication that the destruction of the plane occurred in the air at high altitude. Egyptian government officials also toured the site. Along with their Russian counterparts, they've rejected claims from an IS-affiliated militant group that the plane was brought down in retaliation for Russian airstrikes on Muslims in Syria. In Cairo, the Egyptian president voiced his condolences to the families of the deceased, calling for a minute's silence for the victims. He asked for patience while investigators do their work. It's very important for us to know that during such accidents, this matter should be left alone and that discussions of the reasons behind it should not take place, because this takes a very long time. These are complicated matters that require very advanced techniques and broad investigations that could take months. For the families of the victims, they can only pray and wait for answers as the country deals with the shock of the worst civil aviation disaster in Russian history.
What does it mean that the president is now directly weighing in?
Well, Wolf, the president is going much farther than what the White House has said, what the administration has said so far about this Russian airliner. He said in an interview, he did a series of radio interviews earlier today, but in an interview with the CBS radio station KIRO in Seattle with reporter Dave Ross, the president said, as you just mentioned a few moments ago, that it is possible that there was a bomb on board that plane. Here's more of what the president had to say.
I think there is a possibility that there was a bomb on board, and we're taking that very seriously. We know that the procedures we have here in the United States are different than some of the procedures that existed for outbound and inbound flights there, and we're going to spend a lot of time just making sure that our own investigators and our own intelligence community figures out exactly what's going on before we make any definitive pronouncements. But it is certainly possible that there was a bomb on board.
And it sounds like there, Wolf, according to what the president is saying, that the U.S. may be stepping up its role in terms of what its investigators, what the intelligence community might be doing to get to the bottom of what happened to that plane. Up until this point, White House officials have been saying that U.S. investigators would not really be that involved, that they would be essentially keeping in touch with their counterparts in Egypt and in Russia. But, Wolf, one other thing we should point out here at the White House press briefing earlier today, the White House press secretary Josh Earnest was very doubtful as to whether or not Russia could really carry out a credible investigation, referring to what happened to that Malaysian airliner that was shot down over Ukraine. Josh Earnest, the press secretary, said, Russia does not have a great track record when it comes to these things. So it sounds like from what the president is saying there, he said, we don't know definitively yet what happened to that plane. He wants to get to the bottom of it. But at this point, he is really signaling that the U.S. might take on a greater role in this investigation and really saying there in that interview, which I think is very important, that there was a possible bomb on board. That is much farther than anybody in this administration has gone at this point.